Hey cats and kittens, Dr. Big Ed back again. So, what are we going to talk about this time? Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody who's been posting on these videos, their questions and ideas and combinations that they have questions on. Really appreciate that because that's the whole purpose of this. So, thank you. Let's keep it going. It's your session, please. All right, so this week I want to talk to you about a subject near and dear to my heart. I probably get more questions about this stuff than anything gear related, maybe. And it's glitch, stutter, sampler type stuff, those types of pedals. And what I'm talking is Red Panda Tenser, Drolo Stamen, the Hexa Revolver, the Count to 5, the Montreal Assembly Count to 5. I got stymied on the new one. Website crashed on me. So you're going to have to tell me about the new one. The Chase Bliss Mood, the Cooper Outward, the Bananana Mandala, and the King of Gear Mini Glitch. These are all somewhat lumped together. I should also add the Hologram Microcosm, which I recently owned as well, as sort of in the same realm, and they sort of are, and sort of not. That's what we're going to talk about. So, what do they have in common? Well, most of them are sampling small bits of your audio and chopping it up, stretching it in some cases, twisting it, pitching it, glitching it, that sort of thing. And it's really, I find it really useful in a lot of applications of what I do. Though I've been making music for 30 years and started as a singer-songwriter, I feel like I'm still a pretty good songwriter, but what I enjoy the most is playing lap steel, which is a relatively new instrument to me, because I can create these aural landscapes better, I feel, with that, and that's where these pedals come in. Now, there are tons of great guitar players that do it standard guitar and keyboards and whatnot, drones. I dig it. So, what they have in common is they're all sort of lumped together, except they really don't work the same. Like none of the ones I listed on my list here work the same. I'm going to start, let's start at the last one first, which is the Hologram Microcosm. It's a really thoughtful device. It was obviously a lot of care went into putting that together. It's got several different modes of kind of sample, glitch, ARP, hold stuff, as well as a looper. And we're not really, looping to me, I have an issue with looping. I know it's very popular. And this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but the issue I have is that it can be, not always if you're really good at it, no, it's not, but can be very static. And the only way to deal with that is to add stuff after it or remove layers and then add other layers, but still you're stuck with a layer, right? It's not an ongoing, evolving thing unless you stack many layers, and then where do you go? Do you come back down? Do you stop? All valid options, not for me. Myself, several of my friends, we prefer sound on sound, long looping delays, because yes, it's very dangerous because what you play, that's it. It's in there, it's in the loop, it's not coming out. And it could make some people more careful, not me. You just go for it. You know what I mean? It's, and that's part of the beauty of what I consider what I and some of my closest friends do is free improvisation, where it's free. It's going to cost you, but it's free to us, where we're just doing it. And what it is what it is. And for my money, the long looping delays, there's a certain way that they cascade together in the repeats, especially if you use more than one. It just can't be beat. So, and it's not static, because then each successive repeat degrades, gets softer, and then you're adding on top of that. I don't know. That's what I like. So the Hologram Microcosm has a looper in it, and you can do layers. It sounds very good. The quality is really good. I was very impressed by that. There was no low-end roll-off as with their previous two devices that I found, as well as many others. But a lot of people are asking me, oh, does this replace any of these other devices? And no, it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't react the same. The algorithms are very different. They're not entirely organic, but that's not a bad thing on the microcosm. They're somewhat synthetic, not all of them. I found there were 3 that I really liked the most, but the rest were okay too. But I didn't find that it replaced anything. And in fact, while the reverbs and the delays in it were very good, you can't use the delay while you're using some of the other modes. The reverb's always on, the modulation always on. That's very cool. And the burst function, which allows you to do similar things to some of these devices, which is short pieces, was very cool. But ultimately, what it came down to me is I like these other devices better. And yes, that's more expensive. This is one of those areas in pedaldom that I cannot really recommend saving money for you, because you have to find what works for you, what speaks for you, and go with that. And they're not necessarily cheap, although they're not really, except for the Hexa, not really that much more expensive if you get them at retail. The Hexa's pretty expensive even at retail. But they're all highly usable. So let's go and over some of them. Okay, one of my favorites is that Bananana Mandala. It can, if set properly, it can just capture short little bursts and glitches. And if you're playing and capturing them quickly on and off, and I prefer the version 1 with the arcade soft switch. I had the version 2, kind of sucked. There were a lot of issues with it, and they replaced a soft switch of a quick sampler device with a hard switch. Like, that made no sense to me. But anyway, I use it to get quick little bursts, and for me, percussive things. Like, I'll be playing and capture a little bit, and it'll, like, stutter off. Capture a little bit later, stutter off. And again, because I'm doing sound on sound, it's really cool to have those little stutters of percussive bits layer themselves in the sound on sound feedback. Really cool. I've seen 2 come up on Reverb recently. I grabbed one of them. They shouldn't go for more than like $120. The last one I saw was $160. And I saw somebody list one for $300. That's insane. But stay away from the version 2. It had issues, and it had other issues beyond what I was talking about. I saw some other people talking. But the Bananana Mandala is really cool. It's just a little, and it's also a mini pedal, so it doesn't take up any room. It just adds a little nice little texture to your arsenal. You can't overuse it, obviously, but just here and there, it's really nice. Another one that's not too expensive I think I've seen them used for like 160, but even new, it's like 200, 220, is the King of Gear mini glitch. Believe it or not, in practice, that is very, very useful texturally and glitch stutter wise. It's got 3 different modes. You can set the threshold by holding down the switch and turning that sensitivity knob to where you wish. You can even have it be have it dry through or not. Really useful. I just like the way that sits in a mix as well. I think that's a pretty cool little pedal. They really did a good job with that. And this is the latest version, the mini glitch. It's really cool. The Cooper Outward. Tom at Cooper Effects is insane. He's one of 4 or 5 builders that are just... I find the Cooper Outward, the latest, the V2, I just find it endlessly useful for different textures, stretching, pitching. I never do octave up pitching. To me, that just makes me feel like there's a squirrel in my head and I want to just kill somebody. But octave down or intervals below standard pitch are all cool. But the way that his does LFO and freeze, it's one of the best freeze on the markets, that Cooper Outward V2. The stretching, you can program it, you can save presets. Totally worth the money. A little bit of a bigger footprint, but fan-freaking-tastic. Big thumbs up from both Siskel and Ebert. The Chase Bliss Mood. Okay, so I'm a huge David Rollo fan. He's like that guy. That guy gets me. He gets me. I mean, everything he makes is insane. He's one of those 4 or 5 builders. Just like, I don't know how he fits it all in his head. He's amazing. So, the Mood, which is a collaboration between David Rollo, Chase Bliss, and Old Blood Noise. That's a fantastic always listening device, which is one of the things we like in our repeating sound on sound delays. It's always listening, so I can be playing and not thinking and go, ooh, that was cool, and boom, click on the Mood and get a little piece of it, stretch it, not stretch it, use the envelope mode so that when I capture something and then start playing again, it ducks the sample. Unreal, okay? And then the Old Blood Noise side is fantastic. I can get like a 4-second sound on sound delay. I can get reverse. I can get all kinds of glitchy, twitchy, warped delay sounds. I can get reverb sounds. Like actually the reverb sounds on it are really, really good. So if I had to strip down my board, because I always use 2 reverbs, that could possibly be one of them, even though I tend to use one at the front, all the way at the front, in case I want to do 100% wet. But the Mood, and forget about the dip switches. Yes, I use some dip switches, but they're not that important. What's important is what the knobs do, the clock. I have the clock down like 10 o'clock most of the time because I want to stretch it and get as much sample time as I can, which is, we're talking about 4 seconds here instead of 2 maybe. And then twist it with the Old Blood Noise side and have that side affecting the Drolo side. Otherwise, if you have it affect your dry, which is cool, and your Drolo side, you're going to have a little lag in when it takes effect. That's the only thing about the Mood. But it's got expression input. That's where some of the dip switches come in, but the dip switches come in on other things. If you want to dive deeper, it's unbelievable. I mean, come on. The Montreal Assembly count to 5. There's just something endlessly musical. Well, I don't know if it's the high pass filter. I don't know what it is that he's got going on in there, but Scotty, Scoot, he's got it going on. I mean, every session I've ever used a count to 5 on, in whatever fashion, whether I was using it for pitch warping, whether I was using it as a delay, whether I was using it as a reverse warping delay, whether I was using it as a sampler, which in mode 2 can go up to 8 seconds. It's just super duper musical, and that's one pedal where if you don't use an expression pedal, you got to get one. It's just unbelievable. It sits in the mix. It's fantastic. It's like one of the best buys in audio too. $225 for something that can do all that and works all the time. No brainer. Forget about it. The Hexa Revolver. I've had 3 different iterations of the Hexa Revolver. And while I was one of the first 5 people, I think, to get the DX16, which is the 16-second one. I think it's over a minute now, and I didn't even bother with that one. Someone made a suggestion recently online. They were like, oh, yeah, but, you know, what it really does is, you know, stutter, best is stutter and glitch. And again, with an expression pedal, this is another device, the Hexa Revolver, that's really works better with it. Or it gives you more options. Or if you can get a Vario little sidecar from him. And they were like, they suggested, hey, because that's really what it does best. Like the 16 seconds, insane. I can't hold my foot down for 16 seconds anyway. It's a good point. So if you ever think you're going to need the 16 second or a minute, whatever it's up to now, fine. But super duper sound quality. Like that was one of the first devices that my friends and I were like, whoa, 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 this thing sounds amazing. It's got a lot of different modes that are very, very musical, very useful. It's very expensive, I know. Used, they're like $550. They're not even cheap new, but pretty cool. Not as, how do I say this? I think it might not have as much applications as some of these other devices, like the Mood might have more applications than the Hexa for most people. But if you can afford it and add it to where you already have one of these other devices we're talking to, it's worth having. But, and as much as I love Piotr and what he does, it wouldn't be my first choice, mostly because of availability, and some of these other things do a lot of the same things. And you also got to think about, what if you're on the road or in the studio and something breaks? Can you get another one, right? Practicality. It's just something to think about. I think about it. I think about a lot of things. Back to my buddy, Mr. Drollo, the Stammen version 3 that's out now. Come on. I mean, it does layers of hold, so you can do freeze and layer them. It can do stutter glitch, just ran like you put on the stutter glitch setting and you set it and it'll chop it up without even you doing anything. But then the second switch adds something else in each mode. And then you've got sample rate now, length, and that's another one where the expression pedal really, really comes in handy. I use that with almost all the time with that. The sound quality is amazing. All of the algorithms, all of the modes he's come up with are super duper useful. It's hard to say that about every device, but in this one, it's true. Like everything around that dial, like I did a gig once where each song, each take, because we were playing live free improv, so it didn't matter. It wasn't like they were predestined design songs. I just turned the dial for each one just to randomly see what happened. And it was all super duper musical. Sounds great, records great. Drollo. Love that guy. And last but not least, and I'm not going to have time to bore you with everything on the market. There are others, but sticking to this list is the Red Panda Tenser. So, what's great about the Red Panda Tenser? I think the Red Panda Tenser got a lot of hoo-ha, hoopla when it came out. and deservedly so, but it's fallen off a little bit. Let me tell you, it's still one of the more high fidelity, if not the most high fidelity unit on the market. It does tape stop, it does pitch, it does random, it does glitch, it does sampling, it does looping, layering, overdubbing, it does one-shot recording, it can do freeze, right? It can even do chorus and other simple things. So it's like, for the money they charge for that, which I think is $300 new, with everything they offer, that is a total no-brainer. It's a little frustrating at the beginning, even for someone like me that's used to this stuff, because there's so much, right? I would suggest take each facet of it one at a time if you get one of them. Learn that facet, learn everything that knob does, everything that mode does. Feel how the random is working for you, whether you want it in forward or reverse or alternating. The next feature is freaking awesome. You can just leave the next on and it's sampling little bits and playing them back at whatever you have the knobs in, and you don't even have to be tap dancing to worry about what you're recording. You dig? That's super cool. So my suggestion with the Tensor is it's still aces, it's still top of class, top of field, definitely hi-fi, which is unbelievably awesome. Records great. You need an expression pedal with that because you're not getting everything out of that without an expression pedal because of the pitch and the tape stop things, right? They also sell a sidecar as well as other people for it that allows you to put it in 4 different preset program modes so that you can actually use it like an old DL4, or you can use it that the 4 switches of the sidecar turn on each 4 different functions or whatever. It's amazing. I think Collector Emitter Ian has a great video online about this, and it's a short video, unlike this. And it'll tell you everything you need to know. So just take it one step at a time, learn each facet of that device so it's not too overwhelming, and I think you'll really appreciate it. All right. So that's my little bit on glitch, stutter, sample, switch, pedals. And if there's something I missed you want to ask me about, please do. Or you have any more specific questions, put them below, as they say. All right, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Peace. Your session is over.